Good afternoon, fellow Biafrans. I made a video last time and of course gave the enemies the opportunity for their own propaganda. So we continue what we're doing. You know what? They say this smoke where they come out for here. Na Igbo. They say this smoke where they come out for here. Na Igbo. See, look the eyes. What do you see? They say this smoke where they come out for here. Na Igbo. Na Igbo, you don't smoke finish. And Igbo, they come out smoke. My Igbo na spiritual Igbo. My own Igbo na spiritual Igbo. Now that Igbo be this. You see? That Igbo na be this. And that Igbo they knock you for social media. Alright, I'm just coming from the office of the President of Finland, officially submitting the letter of intent ahead of our convention. We move.
Simon Ekpa, the Prime Minister of the Biafra Republic government in exile, has written to Finland President Alexander Stubb over the group's announcement of Biafra Independence Declaration Convention, which has been scheduled to hold from November 29 to December 3, 2024. Simon Ekpa, in a statement on Wednesday through his X page, noted that the letter of intent was presented on Monday to Finland President Alexander Stubb. According to Simon Ekpa, the letter detailed justifications on why the Biafra Declaration is a recipe for peace in Nigeria and the Sahel region of Africa. The letter of intent informed the Finland president to support the Biafra Independence Declaration because it is a recipe for peace in the Sahel region, Simon Ekpa wrote on his official X account. The government of Biafra is contacting you to inform you about the overall aims and goals of the Biafra Republic government in exile and its international legal personality and the pending restoration of the United States of Biafra under the auspices of an internationally recognized referendum to be concluded at the last week of November 2024. Unlike other secessionist governments in Africa before and since, Biafra was recognized by 5 United Nations member states, the letter reads in parts. This comes amid the increased agitation for Biafra independence in the past years. Simon Ekpa had announced that from November 29 to December 3, 2024, Biafra independence will be declared in a convention in Finland. Recall that Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, has been detained since 2021 by the Nigerian government over Biafra agitation. He was accused of trying to overthrow the Buhari government, and that was how he was kidnapped in Kenya and brought down to Nigeria. Since then, he has been detained at the DSS dungeon for over 3 years. Efforts and appeals from several Igbo leaders for his freedom have not yielded any fruit. Now let's really dive into this story. Let's get to the root, the details, and the wider meaning behind what Simon Ekpa is doing. So grab a seat, because this is a long tale that goes back decades and brings us right up to today. It is a story about identity, struggle, and a dream for a different future, all centered around a place and a people that have faced both hardships and hopes for generations. To start, let's talk about what Biafra is, or maybe what Biafra really stands for. The term Biafra refers to a region in southeastern Nigeria, mostly home to the Igbo people. Back in the 1960s, Nigeria went through a very painful and bloody civil war. This was what many now call the Biafran War or the Nigerian Civil War. The Igbo people, along with other ethnic groups in the southeast, felt marginalized and began pushing for independence from Nigeria. They believed that they were not only politically sidelined but also economically disadvantaged. So they declared their own state, which they called Biafra. But Nigeria didn't take kindly to this declaration, and a brutal war ensued from 1967 to 1970. The Nigerian government, under the motto, "Keeping Nigeria One is a task that must be done," pushed back hard. The war led to devastating loss of lives. Millions died, and much of that number was due to starvation and blockades. It was a conflict that tore families apart, and it left scars that have lasted for generations. Although the war ended with Biafra being reintegrated into Nigeria, the dream of Biafra never completely died in the hearts of many Igbo people. For them, the idea of Biafra is more than just borders or land. It represents freedom, dignity, and a space where they can control their destiny. Now fast forward several decades, and we come to people like Nnamdi Kanu and Simon Ekpa. These men have taken up the cause of Biafra in recent years, and they are fighting in their own ways to revive that dream. But they are doing it very differently from the way it was done in the 1960s. Nnamdi Kanu came onto the scene first as the leader of IPOB, that is, the indigenous people of Biafra. He gained a lot of support, especially among the youth in southeastern Nigeria, because he spoke passionately and fearlessly about the need for independence. He organized rallies, broadcast, and spoke to anyone who would listen, insisting that the Igbo people should have their own country and stay away from Nigeria. But the Nigerian government didn't like his message, and in 2021, he was kidnapped and detained by the DSS. Since then, Nnamdi Kanu has been stuck in a legal and political limbo. He is still in custody, and the Nigerian government doesn't seem interested to let him go. And this is where Simon Ekpa steps in. Simon Ekpa, who is currently based in Finland, is one of Nnamdi Kanu's followers. He has been rallying support from outside Nigeria. Simon Ekpa has become a leader in his own right, even taking up the title of Prime Minister of the Biafra Republic government in exile. The Biafra Republic government in exile is essentially a group of people working outside of Nigeria who are trying to push for Biafra's independence on the international stage. They believe that by getting international support, they can eventually gain enough pressure to make their independence a reality. So recently, Simon Ekpa did something bold. He wrote a letter to Finland President Alexander Stubb. This wasn't just a friendly note, it was a letter with a purpose. Simon Ekpa posted this on his X page, formerly known as Twitter, saying that he had sent a letter of intent to President Stubb, the president of Finland. This letter wasn't just about telling Finland president what the Biafra government in exile is up to. It was a call for support. Simon Ekpa is asking Finland to support Biafra's independence, arguing that it will bring peace not just to Nigeria but to the wider Sahel region of Africa. This is a big deal because it is not just about Biafra's independence, it is about presenting Biafra as a solution to regional issues. Now, why Finland, you might wonder? Well, Finland may seem like an unexpected choice, but there are reasons behind it. First, Finland is known for its peace-oriented approach to international issues. Finland often tries to promote peaceful resolutions to conflicts, and they are a respected member of the European Union. If Finland shows any interest in Biafra's case, it could make other European countries take notice too. Plus, Simon himself is based in Finland, so there is a natural connection there. In his letter, Simon Ekpa explains that Biafra is not just about the Igbo people wanting to break away from Nigeria. He emphasizes that Biafra is about peace, stability, and self-determination. He claims that by allowing Biafra to become independent, the region could avoid further conflicts and instead become a peaceful neighbor. Simon Ekpa even highlights that back in the 1960s, 5 countries actually recognized Biafra as a state. So he is trying to argue that Biafra has a legitimate basis for independence. By bringing this history up, Simon Ekpa is saying, look, Biafra isn't some new idea. It is something with roots, with international backing, and a cause that has stood the test of time. Simon Ekpa's timing here is significant too. He's not just writing letters and making speeches, he's actually planning something concrete. From November 29 to December 3rd, 2024, Simon Ekpa and his government in exile are organizing what they are calling the Biafra Independence Declaration Convention, which is scheduled to hold in Finland. During this event, they are expected to formally declare Biafra's independence once again. It is not like this declaration will automatically create a new country, but it is a symbolic move. It is a way of saying we are serious about this and we want the world to know. Of course, this isn't without controversy. The Nigerian government doesn't recognize Biafra's claim to independence, and they have made it clear that they see Simon Ekpa's activities as destabilizing. Nigeria insists on territorial integrity, and the government has taken a hard stance against any secessionist movement. They believe that Biafra's cause only stir division and could potentially lead to violence, not just in the southeast but across Nigeria. Meanwhile, every day Nigerians are divided on the issue. Some support Simon Ekpa and the Biafra cause, feeling that they have been marginalized by the Nigerian government for too long. They see Biafra as a chance for the Igbo people to finally have a government that truly represents them. But others, even some from the southeast, worry that this push for independence could lead to more conflicts. They remember the scars of the Biafra war and they fear that a renewed push for Biafra might only bring more suffering. Let's take a moment to talk about the people who are most affected by all this, ordinary Nigerians. In the southeastern region where most Igbo people live, many feel deeply connected to the idea of Biafra. They feel that the Nigerian government has neglected them for far too long, and they see the Biafra dream as a way to reclaim their dignity and have a say in their own future. They want good roads, they want jobs, they want schools, and they want government that listens to them. To them, Biafra isn't just about breaking away, it is about creating a better life for their children and future generations. But there are others who are tired of the tension and worry about the consequences of this push for independence. They want peace and stability and are concerned that pushing for Biafra could bring back painful memories of war and division. They remember how much their parents and grandparents suffered during the Biafra war. Some just want to find a way to make Nigeria work for everyone rather than split up the country. For now, Simon Ekpa's approach is largely symbolic. By reaching out to Finland and planning this convention, he's building momentum and bringing the Biafran issue back into international conversations. Whether or not Finland responds in a meaningful way is still up in the air. But Simon Ekpa's message is clear. He wants the world to take Biafra seriously. He believes that with the right support, the Biafran people can finally achieve what they have dreamed of for far too long. What will happen next? It is hard to say. The Biafran struggle has deep, complicated roots, and there is no easy solution. But one thing is clear. Simon Ekpa and the Biafra Republic government in exile are not backing down anytime soon. They are determined to keep pushing for the dream of a free, independent Biafra, and they are willing to go to the international stage to make that happen. Whether or not the world will listen, only time will tell.
All right, I'm just coming from the office of the President of Finland, officially submitting the letter of intent ahead of our convention. We move. Good afternoon, fellow Biafrans. I made a video last time and of course gave the enemies the opportunity for their own propaganda. So we continue what we're doing. You know what? They say this smoke where they come out for here. Na Igbo. They say this smoke where they come out for here. Na Igbo. Say, see, look the eyes. What do you see? They say this smoke where they come out for here. Na Igbo. Na Igbo, you don't smoke finish. And Igbo, they come out smoke. My Igbo na spiritual Igbo. My own Igbo na spiritual Igbo. Now that Igbo be this. You see? That Igbo na be this. And that Igbo they knock you for social media.
Igbos in Nigeria, 73% said sometimes or always they were treated unfairly by the government. This is last year. This is the highest rate of any ethnic group surveyed in Africa. In their view, they are sometimes or always treated unfairly by the government.
So it's issue of injustice?
It is a deep grievance, and it's a disconnect from the Nigeria project, as was mentioned earlier. And I mentioned that number just to underscore the underlying grievance that has to be addressed. So amnesty is potentially part of a package, but the disconnect has to be addressed, and the Southeast is a core pillar of the Nigeria project. It comes back to the discussion of its importance. So all of these issues that are being discussed are inherently political. They're being seen through a political lens. For example, infrastructure, development. The grievance is you have a very productive region that is exporting not just to Nigeria but internationally. You have, I think, Imo and Anambra are number 4 and number 6 for GDP in Nigeria, and that was in 2021, which was a very violent year. So even amidst the violence, three of the 5 states in Southeast are in the top 12 for GDP per capita, yet there's no seaport. The bridges are not good, the roads are not good. So it is a development and infrastructure issue, but it's seen through a political lens as a political grievance. The same with security, which is you have significant deployment of security forces, yet the perception is the DPOs are not from Southeast, many of the officers are not from Southeast, they are not necessarily well versed in the local context, and so they're not performing the role of community security in a way that they or other communities would expect. So that's a security issue, yes, but it's also perceived through a political lens, and it's the same with federal appointments and involvement in governance. So these are development, these are policy, these are economic issues, but they're seen through a broader political lens, that they're not being kind of fairly adjudicated. And I think that's really important to underscore. So amnesty as part of a package may be a solution, but the underlying grievances have to be addressed with an understanding of the political perception, how the infrastructure problems, how the economic problems, how the security issues are perceived politically, and what it means to have a more representative involvement in those efforts from a Southeast perspective. Yes, it has to be a multi-stakeholder approach. The sensitive issues have to be addressed, and there needs to be involvement of the key stakeholders as this initiative is doing. That being said, in context like this, you might not move everybody over. You might not convince everybody. But where you make a serious effort and where you provide legitimate avenues, you will see a significant reduction in popular grievance that draws down support for extremism and makes it very difficult to operate. So a multi-stakeholder approach doesn't immediately solve all the problems, but it changes the trajectory, and it moves a lot of the public into using or trying to use the legitimate mechanisms again, as opposed to staying on the sidelines or even supporting extremist activity. So it's where you need to start, and it's the direction.
His name is Santiago Stocker. He is the former country director of International Republican Institute in Nigeria. He's not Igbo, but he nailed the injustice. He spoke the truth to power, what most people are afraid to say. He shouldn't have been renditioned and detained in the first place, he said. When you talk about the marginalization of the Igbos, some people will shout victim mentality. That's what they use to try to shut you up. Now, a foreigner is exposing what they failed to talk about. Let the world see and tell us if the East, Biafra land, is still part of the contraption called Nigeria. Some of the participants were ashamed and could not even lift their faces in this discussion. They couldn't believe that a foreigner could say such things. I'm Igbo, and proudly Igbo. The night can't stop the sun from rising. Thank you, Mr. Santiago Stocker, the former country director of International Republican Institute in Nigeria, for bringing to light the injustice against Igbo people in the Nigerian project.
We are Biafra, fighting for our freedom. With Ojukwu leading, we shall conquer. We are Biafra, fighting for our freedom. With Ojukwu leading, we shall conquer.
In Biafra, Africa's newest state, which used to be called the Eastern region of Nigeria, everyone wants to join in the battle against the troops of the government of Lagos, which have been launching attacks across the borders of Biafra for the past week or so. And so a citizen army is being formed to carry out home guard and civil defense duties. Every morning and evening, the campus of Enugu University looks as if a swarm of locusts had landed on it. The Biafran Civil Defense Force is undergoing training. All of them are volunteers who come twice a day without pay for a fortnight of basic military training.
Wherever you move, stand still. Bring your hand here on this shoulder. Cover in three, always cover in three. Put your hand, quick. Come on, put your hand until when you hear out front, the quarter. Put your head here, only you want to look first.
They learn how to slope and present arms, to march and have a more or less soldierly bearing. They're instructed by ex-sergeant majors who served with the British in the Second World War and who've dug out their old battle dresses and medal ribbons for the new emergency. The element of farce is certainly there, but the Igbos, and 9 million of Biafra's 12 million people are Igbos, are deadly serious about one thing: what they consider their right to an independent existence.
Nnamdi Kanu disciple, yes. That was what he was doing that time. Mazin Nnamdi Kanu. He never said that I'm an IPOB member. He only said disciple of Nnamdi Kanu. So I've been following him then, even before they capture Mazin Nnamdi Kanu. So everything he has been doing before they capture Mazin Nnamdi Kanu is upright. So when I see upright people, I follow them. I don't follow people because of this or that. Simon Ekpa has been upright even when Mazin Nnamdi Kanu was there. He has been upright. He never started being upright from when they arrested Mazin Nnamdi Kanu. He has been upright from day one that I started working here in many. Because he knows wisdom. I did got common sense now. I got wisdom now. Oh, nyinye amala chukwu kike nenye. Ole ga anya fu udi mmadu ebu onye obuna nwere gift ya. So for ndị na-eme ha dị on social media, ihe idecha ihe aga na-ele anya bụ ma isoro ezigbo oyibo ma ideghị ezigbo oyibo, illiterate, this and that. Let me tell you, na ịgụrụ akwụkwọ abụrụ na ịma ihe. Na ịgụrụ akwụkwọ abụrụ na ịma ihe. So many people gụrụ akwụkwọ but enwe ihe dị ha n'isi. Ihe ha dị after bụ ma isoro ezigbo oyibo ma ọ na idere ezigbo English. That is what they come after you. Once they come and read your this thing,
This is the end of our news update. Please click the icon on the top right corner of your screen to watch my next video. You will enjoy it. I will see you again in my next update. Enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye for now.